Right, okay, so today we're going to do a route video again, but this time I'm going to give you some audio commentary, or what I call audio description. The purpose of this video is to make you a little more familiar with the area. It's not guaranteed that you'll be going on these roads on your driving test. Nothing is guaranteed. You take one wrong turn and you'll be going in a different direction. Eventually the sat-nav will re-guide you, or your driving examiner will do, but it'll give you a good idea of what you need to be looking for in this area. We're going to go over Heaton Test Centre. Apparently it's one of the hardest test centres to pass your test at. I don't think that's true. I think every test centre is more or less the same. If you can drive a car, and you can drive a car safely and well, it shouldn't matter where you take your driving test. However, if you're coming from far, you're coming from an unfamiliar area, and you're coming into Heaton for the first time, there will be things that you need to look out for. What I will be doing is going through a couple of things with you. I've set my sat-nav up. It's got like a predefined sort of area that it'll go through, so you may hear the sat-nav going off while we're driving. It'll give you an idea of where we're going. You'll also understand what the sat-nav will say and what my actions are in the car as a driver. I'll also go through a couple of things in the car. I'll explain to you what I look out for, why I look out for it. Going back to Heaton Test Centre, why the test centre may be harder in terms of people's opinion is really the area that it's in. It's a very compact area, lots of traffic calming measures, and it's hard in terms of people are not very friendly with learner drivers. People prefer to bully and intimidate learner cars. Perhaps they haven't been learners, I don't know. But anyway, we won't waste any more time. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to watch this video and also compare what my actions would be and what your actions are and what you think is the correct thing to do and what the correct thing in terms of what I think we should be doing. Okay, so the test centre is on the right. It's where the red car is. It's in this little compound. So you'll be coming out of that test centre and you'll be turning onto this road and then going to the end of that road. Now, as soon as you come out the test centre, you'll find that people will be coming into the test centre or coming past the test centre. So when you do come to the end of the road, where the silver gates are, where the red car is, you can see the silver gate by the black bin. Pause, make sure it's safe before you come out. So what we're going to do, we're going to move off, and then I'll go through a couple of things with you. So what I've done now is, I'm going to go to the end of the road and I'm going to turn right. So I've started my routine, I've checked my mirrors, I've got my signal on, I've got close to the line. I'm going to go to the end of the road, and you can see how fast that black car went up the road. Perhaps he's racing up the road. Now the speed limit on this road is 2020. For some people in Bradford, it's a minimum. Now you'll see a car's just gone through. Now there's another car coming up the road. He's waiting for me, but it's his priority over mine. So now that that person's gone, I'm turning right down this road. Now as I'm turning down, you will see a yellow car at the bottom of the road. Can you see it now? I was looking as far as that because of the traffic calming measure, the car would end up in the centre of the road by the time I turned into this road. Now the sat-nav is going to tell me to turn right at the end of this road.
Turn right, then turn left.
So I'm going to start my routine about maybe 8 car length. Now I can see the truck, and I can also see this Audi, and possibly a car may come into the middle of the road. So I've slowed myself down. It's quite normal for people to cut corners here. Now I'm looking at the red van as I'm emerging. I can see the red car, and I need to straighten up before he gets any closer. That's fine. Now the speed limit here is 30,
Turn left.
but to travel at 30 on this road with speed humps is unsafe. So I'll do my routine and I'll start turning. Now I've got a crossroad here, so I'm going to reduce my speed. I'll make sure it's safe. I'm looking both ways. There's nothing coming. I can gently continue. I can see this car coming up, so I'm going to let this car come up because it's his right of way over mine. He's already committed.
Then turn right.
Now I can see the van and there's nowhere for him to go or for me, so I'm going to have to stop. And just before I move off, I'll just check my mirrors and there's nobody coming, and I'll gently carry on. I'll make sure I'm a metre away from these parked vehicles on the left, and I can see somebody building a lovely wall. Looks rather nice. Now I can see this black car coming up. I've looked to my left door mirror and I've looked behind me, and really he's got to wait there because there's lots of cars behind me.
Turn right.
It looks like this road is quite busy, so I'm going to be careful as I merge. So now I'll have a quick glance at my sat-nav and see where it's going to take me. So it's telling me to go ahead, but it's telling me that the road's going to bend slightly to the right. Then I'm going to go over a crossroad.
After 200 yards.
And that's where that silver car's just gone now, where the black car's just gone now. So what I am, I'm essentially maybe 3 or 4 seconds ahead of my sat-nav, of my driving, sorry. So I'm looking at the sat-nav while I'm driving, so it gives me an idea of where I'm going. So I'm going to turn right here, check my mirrors again, I'll gently come into the new road, and I look at my sat-nav again and it's telling me I'm going to go ahead. So I'm going to pause momentarily. And I'll gently carry on. Now this road looks very quiet. If it's quiet, you've got to be careful where cars, because they know it's quiet, they'll just pull out. So now I'm going to take the next road on the left. How do I know it's the next road on the left? My sat-nav doesn't show any road before then. So while I'm driving, I'm kind of glancing at my sat-nav every new road I come onto. So I'm going to check my mirrors. Signal from around here. Gonna look in at my left door mirror again and slowly start steering into my new road. I'm now gonna park on the left hand side. Check my mirrors, get my signal on, make sure I don't obstruct that driveway, and I'll park my car anywhere over here. I'm reasonably close to the curb, but I'm not touching it. Cancel my signal, then I'm gonna move off when it's safe to do so. There's nobody here. If there was somebody here, I'd have to signal for them. I'm going to check my mirrors. I'm going to signal again because I'm turning left here. Now I'm glancing at my sat-nav. It's telling me that I'm going to turn left at the end of the road because it's telling me 120 yards, turn left. So the 120 yards essentially is the end of this road. So I'm checking my mirrors, got my signal on.
Turn left.
I'm reducing my speed and possibly coming to a stop at the end of the road. Looks good, nothing coming. I'll gently steer into the new road, staying reasonably close to the curb as I emerge. So I'm glancing at the sat-nav again. It's telling me in 600 yards I'm going to turn left. So I'm assuming that's the end of the road. Now what I've done, I've drawn like a compass. I've got used to what 100 meters or 100 yards looks like and what 500 yards looks like. So once you understand how far it is, you can roughly guess how far. you need to go. Now this is a very common road where cars race up the road. It's a long stretch, it's about a mile. So I'm aware of that, constantly aware of my surroundings, and also checking my left door mirror for cyclists. Now the lights change colour, possibly going to go red on me, so I'm not going to go too fast.
Turn left.
And there we are, the lights are changing colour. So while I'm here, I'm looking at the two people standing by the crossing on my left. They pressed the button, so the crossing will change. Looking in my left door mirror for any cyclist coming down the road. Looking in my right door mirror for any cyclist on my right. Keeping an eye on the traffic lights. Looking around for ambulances. Because this is M lane, it leads more or less up to the hospital. So it's one of the roads frequently travelled by ambulances. It's something that you need to watch out for while you're driving in this area, because it's close to the Bradford Royal Infirmary. It's used heavily by ambulances, so it's something that you need to be aware of. And we can see the two people crossing now. So while I'm sat here actually essentially looking around, I'm also looking at the sat-nav. Now the route I've programmed into this also tells me that at some point I'll be coming back along that road. So I'm keeping an eye on my sat-nav while I'm driving, so I'm essentially ahead of myself and I can plan what I'm doing. So as I've come onto the new road, I'm looking as far as I possibly can. To give you an idea of how far that is, I'm looking at the white van on the right at the end of my line of sight, or line of travel rather. So I'm constantly reassessing the risks on this road. Now earlier we saw the Golf going over the hazard line. You've got to watch out for them. It's pretty normal in this area. And what's also normal in the area is double parking. It's completely normal on this road. You will see random people like that, like you can see the BMW and the car behind him. They'll just park in the road, nobody cares. They'll just sit there and tough sort of thing. You have to watch out for them. Then you've got to watch out for cars coming out of that lane into your lane. So it's something that you constantly need to keep an eye on while you're driving in this city. Now we can see the ambulance coming up the road now. I'm a fair distance away from it. I'm going to turn off this road in half a mile, so I'm reasonably safe in what I'm doing. Looking in my left door mirror, completely fine. My speed's very reasonable. So I'm looking at my sat nav. In half a mile, I'm going to turn right. Sorry, not in half a mile. Apologies. In 800 yards. So my speed fairly consistent. I'm travelling at 28 miles an hour. It's reasonable for the conditions that I'm in. Now, my car has the speed limit is constantly updated. It has a camera on the windscreen. However, it's stuck on 20 at the moment. So the speed limit on this road is 30. However, my car's telling me 20 at the moment. So it's something that you need to be aware of in my car. In some cars, I have automatic recognition systems. They need to see another speed limit sign for it to trigger. Now the reason why it's picked up on a 20 is there was a forward facing 20 sign off a side street and it's picked up on it, but it can't see another 30 for it to change. Now it's just seen one, so now it's gone back to normal.
Turn right, then turn left.
So when I'm turning right at this junction, at this well, it was a very busy junction, Bradford Road Junction, I'm going to go into the centre. And I need to watch out for the cars in the outside lane. The white Audi, the car the one that's coming towards us, because the lanes are different here. So the lane on the left turns left only, and the lane on the right goes ahead only. And it's something that you need to be aware of. Some people are not familiar with the area, and they'll end up in the left lane to go ahead.
After 100 yards, turn left, then turn left. Turn left, then turn left.
So I'm looking at the sat nav, and it's the fourth road on the left, this being the second.
After 80
So it's the
yards,
next road on the
turn
left.
then turn right. Turn left, then turn right.
So while I'm going up the road, I'm looking at the top of the road. The reason why I need to look at the top of the road, well, there's only room for one car at one point. So if there was a car coming down the road, I've got to find
Turn
somewhere
right,
for me
then
to
at the end of the
wait.
road, turn right.
Now, as you're the learner car, unfortunately, you'll find that everybody will try and bully you. So it's very important that you're able to see earlier, assess, and decide on what action you think is appropriate to take.
Turn right, then at the end of the road,
As I've got to the
turn
end,
left.
I'll make sure that my car is straight and that I'm not going over the line. Look safe, and I'll continue. So I'm looking at my sat nav, and it's telling me at the end of the road I'm gonna turn left again.
Turn left.
Now I'm going to glance at the sat nav, and it's going to try and make me go around literally in a circle. So I'm following the road round now. This is also like a bus route, so it's very important that when you're coming into this curve that you watch out for buses.
At the end of the road, turn right. Then, at the end of the road, turn right. Turn right. Then, at the end of the road, turn right. Turn right. Then, turn left.
So now I've got a box junction in front of me. I'm also looking at the taxi. So the van, the taxi, the grey car, there's another grey car, and there's a white van. I'm looking as far as the white van because I've got to clear the box junction before I can move off. Now I'm going to move because traffic's moving now, otherwise I would have had to wait. It's a very easy, very common test fail in this area where people don't observe box junctions. They end up landing on a box junction,
Turn left.
albeit
Then
the
turn
back wheel.
left.
So now I know that this road is very, very heavily congested. Also, it's a road used frequently by ambulances. As the road bends to the left, it goes around a very sharp corner. Sharp being very tight corner, very narrow. Now it's a lorry route used quite frequently, and once we go onto it, you'll see the lorries coming up the road. On the curve, you'll see, it's something that I need to watch out for because lorries, the car essentially bends, so you'll find the back trailer sticking out into your road sometimes. So it's something you've got to take a bit of a risk assessment. So although the camera won't show you it, I'm looking as far as I possibly can, and I can actually see that there's no lorries coming up the road. I'm looking round the corner, maybe about 15 cars ahead. So I'm actually looking in my line of travel, not in my line of sight. My line of sight is essentially where these three silver car, where the silver van is, and this blue car. Yeah, my line of travel, I can see over the bridge, and I can see that there was nothing coming. So this is a tight corner I was referring to.
After 100 yards, turn left, then sharp right.
And that's the lorry that I'm referring to.
Turn left, then sharp right.
So it's telling me to turn left and sharp right. What it means by sharp right, it means you're going to get a turn that you've got to very quickly steer into. So you've noticed that I reduced my speed down to a crawl there. That was unavoidable. Perhaps there was a big lorry coming, I couldn't see around the corner. Best for me to drop my speed and travel at speed that's appropriate. So it's telling me a sharp right turn, which is essentially the next right turn.
Sharp right.
No, I can't see it yet. Because I can't see it, I can't react to it yet. But I'm looking at a sat nav and it seems to be where that tree is.
Sharp right.
Yep, it's here. I can see the pavement break. So before I go up, I look right up into the road, and now I'm going to go up into the road, and I can see it's clear. Now what I've got here is a speed bump. So I've reduced my speed reasonably. It's a sharp bend. I'm looking in my right door mirror, see if there's anything coming. Nothing overtaking me. And I'll gently carry on. I'll come back to my side of the road as soon as I can. And I'll gently continue. As I'm travelling roads that I'm unfamiliar with, I'm constantly updating my vanishing point, and that's something I've discussed with my pupils. So a vanishing point is essentially where you cannot see any further. It's where your hazard's really coming from. So I'm looking at the top of the road, at the top of the hill where the man in red is, or the lady in red, right at the top of the road. That's my vanishing point. It's where essentially where they're all coming from. So I'm constantly updating my risk assessment. So I'm going to turn left at the end of this road.
Turn left.
Turn left at the end of this road. I can see there's nothing on my right coming up. Oh yes it is, there's a car coming now. And I'll gently carry on. Yep, it's a taxi. And the taxi won't wait for me. Or will it? I eat my words. Yes, he has them. Again, I'll glance at my sat nav and it's telling me in 500 yards I'm gonna turn left. It looks like the road bends to the left, or it's a sharp turn to the left. How do I know that? I'm following the breadcrumbs. The breadcrumbs are the lines, the coloured lines. again, I'll just reduce my speed slightly, and you see that the van driver's slowed down. You're expected to see any hazards, deal with them appropriately, but before you deal with them, you need to look behind you and come off your gas essentially, and kind of work out what your next sort of plan of action is.
Turn left.
See how the car's slowed down? Because he's got nowhere to go. Now you'll find some people will do that, and some people try and shove their car through, depending on how big your car is and how fast you come, and how fast you're pushing your car to the end of the road.
Turn left.
It's always good, it's safe to travel at an appropriate speed, so you can adjust your speed and you're able to. Driving examiners are not looking for people driving fast. Driving examiners are looking for safe, considerate people. You're showing them how good you can drive and how well you can drive and how safe you can drive. So we're coming along the same road that we did a few moments ago.
Yards. Turn left.
So at the end of this road, we're going to turn left. Now I'm looking at my sat nav, it's giving me a funny sort of right sort of shape. And it just means it's a bend, it's a sharp bend. You'll see how the taxi driver just dumped his car in the middle for turning right. Now he should have been closer to that line, enabling me to slide past him on the left. He hasn't done. You do what he's done and you will fail your driving test. So I'm looking, it's safe, I'm going to continue. So I'm looking at my sat nav again and it's telling me I'm going to turn right in 500 yards. And it's telling me on Frizinghall Road. So I'm assuming that's where the train station is.
After 300 yards, bear right. Then turn
So essentially it's my next road on my right. How do I know? I'm looking at my sat nav and I can't see no other roads but that. And it looks like a very small turn, so it's not like a sharp turn, it's not a very steep turn. It's where that white car's coming out from. So check my mirrors, get my signal on, come over into the centre, into the refuge or protected area, and I'm looking up the road. I can see the car coming down the road as I'm going up, but he's not obstructing me and I'm not obstructing him. It looks like I'm going to take the next road on the right, which is essentially where that man's come out from. So check my mirrors, get my signal on, get as close as I can to that line. Now he stopped, so I'm watching out for why he stopped, and that was obviously because of the bus. So I'm looking down the road, there's nobody coming up, I'm going to go up into this road. Now he's braking, that means there must be somebody coming down that road, or he's lost. Alright, we've got roadworks. It looks like he's slowing down for something or someone. So now again I re-establish my vanishing point, which is where that car's coming from now. So this is a traffic calming measure, typically where most people fail. Why? Because they just don't give way. So I'm looking for any car coming down the road, I'm checking my mirrors, I'm going to go into the centre of the road around now. There's nothing coming down the road now that I'm here. And I'll gently come back to my side of the road and continue. Now we can see the cars coming down the road and we can see the sign on the left. So it's telling us not to queue through the chicane, and I've got priority. So I look in my mirrors. Now just because I've got priority doesn't mean that I'm always right. It just means I've got priority. Now if somebody hasn't seen that sign, or if they've gone over this giveaway, then it's too late. Then you've got to do something. Do something would mean yield, you know. It's either that or you're having an accident. And you're expected as a driver to be able to deal with these situations
Take the second left.
and take reasonable steps to preserve your life and theirs. So I'm looking at the sat-nav. Now this is typically where most people fail. Why do they fail? The sat-nav is going to make me turn right and then turn left. So I'm going to explain this to you, so you may have to pause it and rewind it a little. So when I turn right here, I'm going to turn left by the park. Now once I turn right and then I turn left, I have a giveaway to turn left. If I was going ahead, I wouldn't need one.
Turn right.
So as I
then
turn right
take
here,
second left.
I've got a giveaway now where this Golf is going. Now if that light was green,
Turn left.
that white coloured car would have priority over me, because look, I've got a giveaway here. Now this is typically where most people fail. They fail to see the giveaway, they just pull off. Now if there's a car in front of you that's going ahead, then you'd have no problem. But if the car in front of you is turning left, like he was, and I'm turning left, and that white coloured car was turning right, well, he'd have priority over you. And because he'd have priority over you, and you pull off, you're going to get dual control. Somebody will stop this car. And if somebody stops this car, you obviously fail your driving test. Now this is typically what a route would look like. It's not necessarily where you could go. It may be where you go. It may be where you don't go. It all depends on the examiners. It depends on what route you take, what time of day it is, and whether you miss a road or you don't miss a road. So for example, if the driving examiner said to you, take the next road on the left, and you missed it and you took 2 roads later or the one after, you may get a different route. So no route's guaranteed. And to be fair, if you can drive a car, shouldn't matter where you take your driving test. So I'm going to take the next road on the left, which is where that silver car's emerging from.
Turn left.
Now as I turn into this road, I'm going to stay very close to the double yellow lines. This is typically where people fail. Why? Because people travel too fast. When they travel too fast, they go over the centre line too early while there's a car coming up the road. And if you're in his path unnecessarily, well, that's an accident waiting to happen. It's dangerous. So now again, I re-establish my vanishing point. My vanishing point is where the trough is, which is where you'll see it now. It's on this corner. The trough is where the horses used to drink out of, where this car is now. So I'm watching that car. I'm also looking behind me. I'm also looking at vehicles approaching me. So speed here, although it's a 30 road, up to 30, you travel at speed that's appropriate. Appropriate speed would be in your 20s.
Turn right.
Currently, I'm doing about 17. I've reduced my speed. Why? I've got 2 large vehicles approaching me. One's wide like my car. And you'll see that they're going over the line. If they're going over the line, then I'm going to reduce my speed, because then they're inside my lane. I'm going to take the next road on the right. Check my mirrors, get my signal on, stay as close as I can to the line. I'm looking at this red coloured car and he's driving rather fast. And it's not this car, it's this car that I'm turning into this road. He was coming down very, very fast. So that's possibly because he's a driver from a different country, different driving standards. And how do I know the car's from a different country? The steering's on the opposite side. It's a left-hand drive car and ours are right-hand drive. So these are the 2 cars I'm worried about. I'm watching them because if somebody's going to overtake them, they're going to be on my side of the road. So I'm checking my mirrors, my inside mirror, my right door mirror, and I have to move to the right to turn to the left.
Turn left. Then
As I'm turning in, I'm watching out for other cars coming out or people driving too fast.
you have reached your destination.
So now I'm going to find a safe place to park the car. And that would imply anywhere here. Okay, so that's one of my first videos. I'm going to be your driving instructor, I'll be one of them. I hope this video was useful. If it was, please like, subscribe. Any comments, constructive feedback is always welcome. If there's anything that you think I missed, anything that you'd like to add, happily message me. And I'll see you in the next video. In the next video, we will be discussing hazards in more detail. Perhaps some illustrations may be useful. It's my first video that I've done with a little audio feedback, or audio description. It will get more detailed, more complicated, but it'll be easy to understand and more relevant to driving. So this is my first video of Heaton Test Centre. It's areas where you may possibly be driving on your test. All being well, hopefully you'll pass. That's the idea. And you'll get a feel of what to expect in the area. It's getting dark now, so what I'm going to do a video early morning at a busier time, so you get a feel of how we deal with the situation, which is what you will be dealing with. Now, in terms of why am I filming Heaton? Heaton is one of the most notorious test centres in the area. People say Heaton and it's thunderbolts. It's not hard. Heaton is not a hard test centre to pass at. I have a very good pass rate here. It's hard for people that are not from the area. The reason for that is you're unfamiliar with how people respond and how people react. So for example, if you were going to the end of a road and emerging, turning left or right, you'd wait, and when it's safe, you'd emerge. Well, in this area, they'll just stop the car middle of the road and force people to stop. People see that and people mimic that. Unfortunately, it's unacceptable. On your driving test, you fail. People see this as normal in Bradford and kind of accept it, but it's not the norm. And because you're not doing it, the car behind you becomes frustrated. So it's very difficult sometimes. It's a balancing act. But the more you drive in the area, the more videos you'll see, the more you'll understand how behaviour changes and how you've got to essentially deal with it. We've had some tricky situations with the driving instructors in this area. However, the longer you drive in this area, the more you understand how people think, the more safer you can drive, and hopefully the better you can drive. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and lots more coming. Thank you. Bye-bye.